In today's episode, we're talking about how you can build a relationship with your camel. This is the Camel Connection podcast.
Welcome to our weekly Camel Q&A.
This is where you ask a camel question and we answer it.
I'm Tara.
And I'm Russell. And together, with other camel experts, we answer your camel questions.
Hello and welcome back to another Camel Q and...
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Yeah. Yes, we've got a great topic for you today.
Yeah.
We got a question from Renee.
Hi, Renee.
And she says, I am getting my very first camel at the end of this month. He is 4 months old. I want to make sure I start off our relationship on the right foot. Are there any must-dos and must-not-dos when meeting camels for the first time?
Well, I actually remember this exact feeling when our son was being born.
Right. He's not a camel.
He's not a camel, no. Just to let you know. But I had exactly the same feeling.
Like,
what do I do? What I don't? What's best, and all this sort of thing. And at the end of the day, you just do it.
Yeah.
Really.
We do have some tips. So
yeah, for sure.
Because camels are not humans.
They're not humans.
And you don't have to baby them, really.
No.
Except baby camels obviously need a lot more attention. Renee, your camel's only 4 months. I think when you wrote that, you've probably got your camel by now. But these tips will still be helpful for you moving forward. And anybody else listening, whether you've got a young camel, an older camel, these tips work for all camels.
They do.
But to start off, that if we've spoken a little bit about camels that have had history, like not so positive history, I suppose you could say. We have spoken about that in this podcast, but you can, with all camels, you can, what do you say? Everything's recoverable.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Everything is recoverable. But the one word that's floating around in my mind at the moment is submissive.
In which that doesn't make sense.
No,
what does that mean?
It does to me at the moment, and I'll explain. You reckon I waffle on? Well, here I go. Okay, so submissive. So when meeting a camel for the first time, okay, now they're curious and they're wanting to know who you are, okay, and how you present yourself to the camel actually gives them an impression as to who you are and what to expect. So remembering that they operate on fear, okay, there's a very fine line when they're just either really relaxed or they're actually entered into the realm of fear.
And given that this camel's probably been removed from its mother,
yeah,
there's going to be that uncertainty there for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So approaching a camel like this is it's a submissive thing almost. You're submitting to the camel. Now, that doesn't mean to say that you're going to be walked over by the camel, okay, and you don't allow those sorts of things. There are boundaries.
I think is what you're trying to say is like coming with an open heart so that you don't have barriers up straight away. So if you've got uncertainties, you've got barriers.
What you're wanting is the camel to come to you.
Yes.
All right, and so things like looking at the camel's eyes. Now, this is just a fact that I found out over the years, but looking into the eyes of the camel, initially, you don't have permission. And it's actually threatening to the camel.
You can do that from a side angle though, like
to
see what's happening with the eyes.
You've got to use your peripheral, of course. Yes, absolutely. But looking down, having your head slightly tilted down, so that you're in a sort of a submissive position.
Just like Russell's doing right now.
Well, I'm just trying to work out how I'm going to describe this.
Well, it's a side angle look. Your head's tilted a little bit.
Yeah, head's tilted, looking down, but I'm looking with my peripheral, at the stuff in front of me. So in your case, it'd be the camel. And so that you're not threatening. Okay, this is animal behaviour, and we are animals. Don't forget. And so, yeah, if you're submissive, then you're allowing that camel to come to you without those boundaries and barriers, being put up by you, and your fears too. That's what they're looking at.
Also, I would recommend a video we did a few months back called How to Approach Camels or something like that on YouTube. It will be on our blog too. We'll try and link it below wherever you're listening to this, because that we explain, give you demonstrations with camels how to approach them, and that the non-eye looking thing is in there as well. So that would be really helpful for you, Renee, and anybody else out there who's, it doesn't matter whether it's, even if you just, going up to a camel at a fair or something like that, all these rules apply, because camels do get attached to their certain people, like to their certain carers. The more experience they get, obviously that's less and less, because they trust that human.
Well, that's right. And look, like I'm going back to the animal behaviour sort of thing, and even us humans, we have behaviours which are submissive in some ways and non-threatening. Now, for example, when we extend our right hand, to shake another person's hand, it actually stems way back. And what it is I have no weapons in my hand.
And to translate that into camel language, because we're talking about camels here, not fighting in wars.
No.
Is that in that video that we did, we literally put out like you would. I always say like you would a dog, but some people don't get that either. So you put your hand right out directly in front of you, the back of the hand, so your fingers are facing downwards. So everything's non-threatening, and the camel will come up and sniff you, because that, if you watch their natural herd behaviours, that's how they greet each other. They sniff each other and they nuzzle, and that's how they do it. So to them, that's their hello. That's how they
that's
greet
their
people.
Handshake.
That's handshake, how they greet people.
Yeah, that's right.
But I want to really answer the question here about do's and don'ts. So, given the age of this camel, Renee, being 4 months old, we've done a fair bit of content on, because there's so much to say on this, and there's only so much. We only have like 10 minutes here, and in the Q&A we try to cover as much as possible. But we have, if you search in our blog, if you search baby camel, you'll find videos on like how to introduce boundaries, because boundaries are really, 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 really important with baby camels. Because they won't, I presume the camel won't be learning off another camel, and camels need to learn boundaries, and the way that they do that naturally is in their herd behaviours. So that would be definitely one of the first big things, is you've got to create very clear boundaries, and they've got toddler brains. Their mind goes a lot faster than an older camel. Like, they bounce around, they're unpredictable, and so you've got to be that kind of security. And
attention spans.
Very limited.
Yeah.
So we actually don't deal with baby camels in training or anything like that, and that's a lot of questions we get. When do I start training my camel? And we don't on our farm, we don't touch baby camels, because they've got their herd environment and they're learning that way. They're actually being trained, so to speak. But I know it's different for everybody, especially people in the United States where they don't have as many camels. So that's definitely a must do is enforce loving boundaries. And so go ahead and watch that video of ours. I think it's called Baby Camels and Boundaries or something like that. So what about a must? So that we talked about a must do. What about a must not do?
Okay. Well, must not
Where do we start?
Well, it's quite the opposite, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's sort of like, they're not a dog or anything like that. This is a camel, and that we're talking about, and they're scared. And they operate on this fine line of fear or no fear. And at this stage, the baby stage, you want to introduce yourself so there's no fear, so that they're building that trust right from the word go.
Yeah.
But
see, that's
no fast movements. Here we go. This is what we don't do. We don't have fast movements.
Yeah.
We don't come in on a dominant sort of attitude. You don't come in with, if you're pissed off or aggressive about something, in your life, you will forget about it. Just don't go there. because you want to give the camel the best impression of what a human being can be like. And so keep that in mind with your behaviour and your actions. It's really actually you're the training of the human.
And also,
in being with these animals.
it's sort of really contradictory to kind of say this, but it's just as important of what you don't do is what you do in the sense that, you know, being a baby camel particularly, you don't want to overwhelm them with too much information. They're just like a toddler brain, very scattery, very, you know, half a wheel missing, sort of like unpredictable. They just kind of just do really random things, and they're cute and they're funny and stuff like that. But the most important thing to remember here is, okay, I've taken this camel out of an environment where it's probably been raised by a mother, hopefully. If not, you know, it was orphaned and maybe it was with a herd. Or just think of the evolution of the camel too. They are designed to be with their own kind.
Yeah.
So the first thing I would be thinking about after getting one camel would be, when am I getting my next camel?
That's true.
Because they need each other. We've gone into depth in so much on this podcast about that, and you know we're huge advocates of the herd staying with the herd.
Yeah.
It's just works better.
Like with like.
Like with like. And also, the other thing also is nutrition. You want to know your stuff when it comes to camel nutrition.
Big time.
You cannot feed them like horses. You cannot feed them like cows, pigs, dogs, cats.
That's right.
Elephants, giraffes, like they are camels. And one thing that we're learning of, we've just started our membership site, our Camelier Academy, which is exclusive for people who have gone through our training. And we've got a resident vet, Margie Bale, and she's incredible with her knowledge, and that's something she enforces 100%, and obviously we're on board with that, is a camel is a camel. It's not like this,
and
that,
look,
and
you know,
that.
inside the domestic situation, it is absolutely critical, and this is something that, you know, I've learned, you know, and I've been around for, you know, I don't know, since Adam was a boy, I suppose. I mean, no, not really.
You?
But, no, not quite, but...
You're a God himself, I'm
no,
sure.
No, I definitely am not that. But you know, I've been around for quite a while, and like a lot of people in Australia, you know, I thought, well, you know, stick them in a paddock, they'll eat anything, they're fine, you know, and tick the box.
They're fine for a couple of years, but then things start going down.
As Margie was saying to us, and it really, you know, hit home to me that you know, that because they are a prey animal, okay, they will pretend to be okay. Even if something's happening inside, you know, there's a lack of mineral, a lack of something in their diet, and something's happening inside that compounds and affects something else, but the camel, being a prey animal, is going to pretend that it's okay because that's its natural behaviour against predators.
Survival mode.
Until all of a sudden everything starts to just collapse. And that's when the camels go down hard.
And here's the reality of things too.
Really bad.
Really bad.
Really bad. Yeah. Oh, look, it can be. It's devastating, and it's so much that
we've got all that content in our academy.
It's amazing.
But you know, we can only say so much here. But also, like, we figured too that, you know, how to build a relationship with a camel. Well, first you've got to have a camel, and second you've got to have a healthy camel.
That's right.
Because otherwise you will not have a camel for very long.
Yeah.
And then of course you build everything on top of that. So your starting point, if you're getting a camel, or just got a camel, or a new camel owner, start learning everything you possibly can about husbandry. But be careful where you get your content too.
Yeah.
Because there's some really random stuff out there that even
there's some great stuff too.
Even vets have said, okay, that's not very relevant. So you've just got to be careful where you get your content. So do your own research about that. We've got heaps of information on our blog. Again, you can search camel husbandry. You know, we've got so much information there for you. So just start there. Just start reading and really getting into that information.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you can build your relationship on top of that knowledge because, I mean, we've had experience on our farm, you know, a healthy camel's not a healthy camel is not going to be a camel for very long. So
no, that's right. It takes a long time to pick them back up if they've fallen.
It does. Yeah. There's so much we can cover on this, but we can only go, we're just almost over time.
Yeah.
But we hope that's been helpful.
So we'll just recap on all of it. Okay, so
Well, that's
first
what
of all,
it's
it's
supposed
just,
to be, yeah.
Okay, so first is your approach. All right, so thinking about you as
So
the
go and
person.
watch that video, how to approach a camel.
Yeah. Second thing, get as much information as you can as the husbandry side of things.
Well, that was, the third thing.
And, well, that's the second thing, really. I mean, that's in my mind.
And the third thing was boundaries. You got
Yeah.
to start thinking about boundaries. So watch the video Baby Camels and Boundaries.
Because they do grow up.
And they do need boundaries.
They sure do. There we
Is
go.
that it?
I think that's it.
So we're just going to say 2.
No, we've done 3. That was
Yeah.
3. Yeah.
I didn't know if you knew there was 3.
No, I counted.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Good on you. Great question.
Don't forget, we would love to hear your question, your camel question. So head over to camelconnection.com and ask it now.
Fantastic.
We'll cover it in one of these episodes.
Excellent. See you guys.
Bye.
If you found this Camel Q&A helpful, please let us know. Leave a review wherever you're listening from.
Do you have a camel question for us? Head over to camelconnection.com to ask your camel question now.